So this is class number 8 on your multidimensional nature. And we're just opening it up now. If anyone would like to share anything about your experience in the class with the deepening practices or your one-on-one session with me, love to hear. So you may have to put up your wave your hand for me. Okay, I see June there. All right, June. Okay, June, I think you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
After class, well, I went Halloween night. I went to a witch's tea, and we did tea leaf readings, and we did the scry, and it was really good. There was a lot of people that was dressed up, and then I went with my best friend, and then on the way home we stopped into Keji, and I had made an offering for my mom and dad because it was their anniversary that day. And we went into Keji is like got huge trees, and it's a park, and we had a little fire, and we did the offering, and it was great. Yeah, it was a good day. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you had mentioned doing that offering for your, or is that the first time you've done that, June, or is that part of your tradition?
No, this is the first one I did was on my birthday, October 16th,
Right.
on top of Gross Morn, and this is the second one that I've done. So
Excellent. Okay, cool. All right. Well, we're going to be talking more about offerings next week, but you're kind of giving us a little warm up for it. So
well, I
thank
did
you.
all traditional medicines.
Right.
So and I got some tobacco, some real
Right.
tobacco. Yeah, from Darlene, the woman that I went to the witch's tea with.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Sounds like some great connections you're making there locally.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So, Diane, are you waving your hand or no? Can't see. All right. I'm only seeing some. Okay. I see Doreen. There we go, Doreen. So you need to unmute yourself too there, Doreen, please.
Hi, everybody. I have a couple of things to say. The value of playing the replay. I did that, not with this last one, but the one before, and just realized how much I'd missed because, as you say, these sessions are so full. So doing the replay really helped me solidify the stuff that went on then and helped me remember. You know, when you say a whole bunch of stuff, we all take in different things. So it was really good to replay it. And secondly, I had my session with Allison this week, and I got to admit, in past, not last week, maybe the week before, one of our deepening practices was to call in the directions. And the first time I tried it 2 weeks ago, I felt a little silly, really. Like, who am I to do this, you know? And here I am alone in my kitchen calling in the directions. But it's strange. This week I tried it again, and it really resonated with me. Like, and I don't know why it resonated more this time. But then I had the session with Allison. Now, I shouldn't let you know, if there's some who haven't had the session, what she does, but I guess. But my session even deepened my love of that, the 4 directions. I'm trying very hard, Allison, not to give it away. But and I'm finding it in so many other things called the, you called it the Sacred Cross. Anyway, I could go on and on, but the session I had with Allison, I didn't believe that it could be in a short hour so rich, so full, and to actually bring peace to issues. If you haven't had it, you've got something to look forward to. I'll just say that. I can't talk about my experience without giving it away. So I think I'll go back on mute now, Allison.
Well, you're so mysterious there, Doreen. I don't think I told anybody that they couldn't talk about it, but but I love the suspense you're building up there for everyone. So that's great. Yeah, yeah. I know it's powerful work. So thank you for sharing. Um, and I love what you say about the deepening too. I mean, I've heard that over and over from many of you that, you've been doing this work, some of you for years and years, and yet there's still more to discover and more depths to reach with it, with this. It's very rich. Anyone else? Time for one more? Okay. All right there, Carolyn, can you unmute yourself?
I would want to enforce what Doreen just said, and also talk about how wonderful the ancestral work was, tracking with a stone, and where that went after the session was into other generations of that family. And it was quite surprising to me to experience that. And it's almost like they went looking for and being part of that experience, because it was helpful. It was helpful to the individual that I was targeting, who is my namesake, my great-grandmother Caroline. The other thing I'd like to speak about is, I don't know if anybody else has noticed how time has changed. The fabric and texture of time has changed since the 30th and the 31st last week. I really have been thrown off by the clock changing, but not only that, I find that the availability of time for what I want to do, whether it's a project or sleep or a walk, there is ample time, and I'm not rushing from one thing to another. And I just wonder if anyone else has noticed the presence of shaman time, that there's always time to do, and you move into a space where that time is very rich.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, time is, we're going to be talking about time tonight. So that's a very good lead in there, Carolyn. Thank you. And for speaking of your experience with the ancestor work, very powerful work. And particularly at this time of year, right? When the veils are thin. Right? So, Catherine, you're on, I believe, and I think I've changed your status.
I'm here. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so I apologize. I started at the beginning. I did say that I was manning the controls here in the cockpit without you, Catherine. And then I realized that I hadn't admitted, so some of you have just come in late. So that's what was happening there. Catherine was delayed, and so any delays in me letting you in were completely me multitasking and not doing a very good job of it. So thank you, Catherine. Thank you for being here. And I also want to thank Janet Mahoney, who's been here for just about every class. There, she's always in the background. She doesn't, always say a lot, but she's really holding some powerful space for each of us here. So thank you, Janet, out there on the West Coast. Yeah. All right. So we're going to move into the meat of this one, because as usual, there's a bit to share, and I'd love to give you time for your breakout sessions, and thank you for your feedback on that. Some of you shared with me privately that that was a bit nerve-wracking and for some and stressful, but how it's actually turned out to be quite a beautiful and positive experience. So I love it. Thank you. All this feedback that you provide me will help me going forward in offering more of these classes online, because I'm on a steep learning curve, just like some of you are with using this technology. So I appreciate all that feedback. And next week, I will, at the end of the class, will be asking for some more formal feedback from you and following up on that as well. So because this is really appreciated, and I want to give you the best experience that I possibly can and make this as rich and full and multifaceted as possible. So so now into the topic today. Speaking of multifaceted and rich, multidimensionality is something that's fascinated me, and because it's leading edge science as well, is where the ancient wisdom of the shamans and the great mystics, all spiritual traditions that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, meets modern science, right? And so I love exploring that edge, and I love it when many of my teachers are the people like Alberto Villado and Barbara Hand-Clow and other people I've talked about are scientists, exploring this edge. And so I'd love to share some of that with you. So remember, in Waking the Dreamer, in the course in the summer, I talked about the three worlds, and I talked a bit about multidimensionality. And so I'm going to elaborate that a little and talk about time and space, and kind of puts a little more meat on the bones in the time that we have here now. So as I've been saying, a shaman and the shamans of old were really the original scientists, right? They understood, and they were exploring the frontiers of reality and going beyond, the surface of this everyday world. So understanding the nature of reality through direct experience. So they were doing their own, experiments. And of course, learning from all those who came before them as well, and building on their knowledge. But they came to understand that the subjective inner reality that they experienced, personally experienced, which we might now call consciousness, realized that there was no objective reality out there that exists independently of our perceiving it. Now, this is now leading edge science. This is quantum science. This has been observed and documented in laboratories. So just our observing of the external reality, whatever that phenomena is, changes the reality. And so the shamans, of course, knew that. It's like, oh yeah, we knew that, right? So the scientific era, up until fairly recently, developed this idea, put forth this idea that there was an objective reality out there that we could dispassionately observe, right, and measure and quantify. But what that has done, of course, is distance us from that world, right? It's taken the magic out of it, the mystery, disenchanted it even, I would say, and shut down our awareness of our interrelatedness with it. So it's made it this separation, that there's a world out there and then there's us, right? And that somehow they're separate, us and them. And the shaman knew that that was not true. That's an illusion, right? And now brain research and leading edge quantum science proves that, right? It's still, but yet in the mainstream and in our thinking, our cultural thinking, we haven't integrated that knowledge yet, right? So we're still operating in different paradigms, you might say, in the old paradigm and the new paradigm, which is now opening up and becoming more well known. And hence shamanism now is, you know, a hot topic, right? Everybody wants to learn. So I talked about the idea of multidimensionality, being able to use the metaphor or the reality of like either a scale on a piano, you know, an octave, you know, lower and higher notes, as well as the light spectrum, which includes visible and invisible light, and all the other, you know, different frequencies that are invisible, you know, beyond the visible light spectrum. So I just want to put a little more flesh on this work done by, actually a channeled work by Barbara Hand Clow on the 9 dimensions of consciousness, which now has, you know, as I said, has been verified by science that our brains can actually function, you know, in 10 or 11 potentially dimensions, that we can register them, right? Which is, you know, what the Pleiadians told Barbara Hand Clow. So, and I was hoping to have an image to put up here, but I will send you, or I'll put it on the Facebook page, an image for you to see this. But basically, a spiral, you know, with a central core, and identifying, you know, that of course these are not discrete. It's a range. It's part of a range, but there's at least 9 ranges, or, you know, ranges of frequency that are held in place by different intelligences in the galaxy, and the first 3, the lowest 3, are the ones that are physically manifest, and they would be the ones starting from the core of the earth and the inner earth and to the crust of the earth and where we live in this physical reality. So the first 3 dimensions, and they correspond with that lower world too. Energetically, they correspond with the lower world, where we go to do soul retrieval and to find out what's unconscious. Remember, that corresponds to the unconscious realm of our brain. And then the upper realms from 4 to 9 are, of course, invisible. They're more subtle, and they get increasingly more subtle, or less dense, the higher up you go. And and of course, they correspond to, so our human world and our thinking and thoughts and abstract thoughts, mind, you know, corresponds with the next 3. So we'd have the 4th realm and the 5th realm and the 6th realm. And I won't get into the details of them because that would be a bigger, much bigger presentation. But I can certainly give you the bones of it and point you in the direction if you want to learn more about it. But this is another framework to understand how our reality is organized and where it is the shaman was going when he or she was journeying to retrieve information. And the fact is that we all have access to all of those dimensions, but nobody teaches us about that, right? Because, you know, this is, again, in the new schools of the future, this will all be on the curriculum. So the other point I want to make about those frequencies is that they also relate to time and to our perception of time. So in shaman school, you know, one of my favorite dimensions or places to travel to was to the stone realm, right? We talked about the stone people and the plant people. Well, you can travel to the stone realm, and, you know, there's different things that you would be doing there. But whenever I went to the stone realm, it was like, whoa, like time really goes slowly in the stone realm, right? And like my whole body would be like, whoa, like I just loved it. So I learned through experience. Nobody told me that time was going to go slow when I got there, or I was going to have a different physical, visceral experience when I went to the stone world. I experienced it for myself. Nobody had to tell me. And so again, this is how the shaman has learned, right, about the multidimensional world and reality that we live in. Oh, sorry, Grizzly. Anyway, I'm going to just put you down here, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah, later. Okay, later, Gator. All right. So, what I want you to know, just a couple of things. So, up that spiral, because it's a spiral. It's how she was shown to present this by the Palladians. Is another explanation or demonstration of that medicine wheel that I was telling you about, that is 3D, right? So it actually is almost a perfect illustration of like the cosmic tree of life, right? With its branches being the different dimensions, right? The upper branches, and then the axes, the world axes, up through the middle through which the spirals rotate, being the trunk of the tree. And with the, the roots going down into the lower world and the upper branches going up into the upper worlds, upper realms. So time shifts as you move along this axis, and you experience time differently. And of course, time is very mutable. Time is not, what we think of as linear time. Yes, there is linear time that we experience here in the three-dimensional world. As Alberta would say, in linear time, time flies like an eagle. It just goes straight, right? And there's past and present and future. But the Greeks talked about the two different kinds of time. They talked about chronos time, which is chronological time. And they talked about kairos, or I may not be pronouncing that right, Kairos time, which is a more timelessness. It's that sense of being outside time, where time moves differently, either faster or slower. And brain research shows that that time, linear time, is process and is a function of our left brain, that logical, literate, where language comes from and reason. That rules, and that's where we get to experience linear time. But our right brain, and this comes from people who've had brain damage, and when their left brain has been damaged and the right brain takes over, that they find it very difficult. They have a very different experience of time, and time becomes more this kairos kind of time that's just kind of wide and expanse, and doesn't seem to have any boundaries to it. And of course, this is again, feminine right brain. I'm hoping you're making some of these connections, right? The feminine way of being, the way when we are in our most creative state, when we're outside nature, just being, right? Or whenever we're just in the being state through meditation or any kind of activity like that, we experience more this timelessness, right? So we're hardwired for all this. I'm just telling you, there's nothing magic about it. We just cultivate it and learn to work with it. So the other piece I want to tie in here is, if you remember in the Sophia story of how, there's specific references to how, to the aeons in the galactic core, time is very different. So they are creating and sending their creations out into the galaxy and just watching what unfolds. But for them, a second for them is like, probably days or weeks or whatever. And there's also references to that in the Bible, right? That ancient knowledge in that text, the fact that, to God, time, a year is as a day, to humans, right? So this is what we're working with here. This is ancient wisdom. So our 3D time-space existence is, first of all, just a very small sliver of the full spectrum of reality that we exist in and can access all the time. And non-ordinary time is where the shaman has always worked, right? Because they began to understand through direct experience that these spiritual invisible realms have different rules, and they there are they exist outside of space where there are many probabilities and possibilities existing simultaneously. Now, this is also cutting edge science. We're talking about string theory here, right? All about multidimensionality and potentials. So, and timelines. So our, in normal human thought, we can say, we have a desire and make choices, and they create different potentials, and given enough momentum or enough energy, they will manifest into the physical, right? If we apply the right action, do the right things, then they will manifest. But the shaman, was working in that realm of possibility, either with things that had already manifested and going back in time and shifting things so that things in the present became different. Now, this is all science fiction, but it also is based in reality. This is, not beyond. Time machines and the ability to change, potentials is happening all the time, whether or not we're aware of it. So the shaman was able both to go back into the past to things that had happened, like you've learned already, shifting ancestral imprints or karmic imprints, doing the soul retrieval for soul parts that got lost and bringing them forward to the present, and healing and changing and shifting all these, timeline jumping is what the shaman does. There's another title. You hear that, Catherine? The shaman is the original timeline jumper. There we go. So, so different kinds of time. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure now I've got all this here. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yes, okay. So multiple timelines and potentials are always existing at different states and different frequencies, or realms or worlds, whatever you want to call them. Because they're just energy. Some of the energy is manifested already into the physical, and so that it might take a little more work, right, to undo the physical, because the physical is already manifested. And so that's why the shaman will always say that, you can heal something, but you may not be able to cure it. So if something is already manifested to such an extent, then repair of that and repair and shifting of the physical may not be within the realm of possibility. It would depend on what the soul's destiny and potential was, and what was, and that's something. But healing was always possible, even if a cure wasn't. So that's what a shaman's always working on, to heal the cause of it, so it doesn't have to manifest again, and so it doesn't have to be sent forward through the DNA to the next generation. So we're always creating, right? It's back to that. That's how we're designed, right? And even if we've been doing it unconsciously, we're always designing. So also, and because we're going to do this today, we also can travel into the future, right? Into the future, and track along a timeline and bring back a healed destiny and implant that into the present. So we're going to be doing that. So this is how we change reality, always changing, always shifting, which I would call, because we're using our consciousness and our inner sight or spiritual sight, which includes our imaginative capacity, then we have that ability to change things. So the other really, so I'm going to leave that part for a moment, let that all settle in and digest, and you can come back and watch it again, is to think about where we're dreaming from. What's the basis? and or what's, what's the foundation. And there's something I want to say here that feels really important. And so I really want you to hear this. We do not have to be healed and have done all our work and to be some version of perfection before we start to dream, or before, I mean, there is this thought out there that if you haven't done all your work yet, and this is a really alive one for me, that, you're not going to be able to do it right or dream what you want. And that's not true. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because we are, even though we're a manifest physical being with our quirks, and if you're like me, lots of aches and, issues, our mind and our consciousness, and even though we still are carrying emotional imprints, karmic stuff, ancestral stuff, we can still access and work from a higher place where we're healed already, where we're already perfect, and we're already connected in directly with divinity, with the great creator, with Sophia herself, and with the origin, the source of life beyond Sophia and the aeons in the galactic center. And that would be to work from our upper chakras, our soul chakras. I talked about the 8th chakra, remember, and beyond. And we have chakras beyond that. So we have access, and we can leave, and this is part of the shamanic work, is to not to deny it or dismiss it, but to allow our ego self, our small mind, you might say, that holds all the stories, and and our bodies that still hold unresolved emotions, we can just let them be where they are, and we can shift into a higher state, shift into a state that is already healed and perfect. But we really need to know, at the same time, know ourselves and know what our patterns are, know, where our imprints are still active, so knowing yourself is really, really important. And then to also recognize, and we also have access to that part of ourselves that is divine, that exists in perfection, already has never known death, because it's infinite, it's connected, is that aspect of ourselves that is always in contact with spirit and with the higher realms of spirit. And so when we're dreaming from, we're in every moment creating, and sometimes we're creating because we see it in front of us. We go, oops, when we realize that we're always creating, we have to take 100% responsibility for everything that shows up in our lives, because we've in some way, we've been co-creating with other people, but we, have to acknowledge our own part in it. And at the same time, to recognize that that isn't all of who we are, and that we can, yes, we may be carrying our stories of victimhood, or poor me, look what happened to me, scarcity, limitation, lack of confidence. We get fear, and separation, that, oh my, nobody loves me, sort of thing, or, if nobody supports me, I have no support, my family, whatever. We all have those stories, right? Some versions of those stories, and which is a wounded place. But remember, it's our human self, right? It is our wounded human self, our beautiful human self. And we also are more than that. And that's the place we access, when we're doing this work. So we don't have to be recreating that same flawed and limited reality over and over, right? We just need to know how to shift into that higher state. And we continue to do our work, on our small human self that needs compassion and needs love, and lots of attention. So, so who are you dreaming for or with is another piece of this. Are you dreaming just for yourself? I don't know about you, but for most of my life, I thought I had to dream for myself because, and I did. I mean, I was, making lots of wishes and blowing lots of prayers in, for my own healing, for my own financial abundance, for my own whatever. And this is not something I always knew. But more and more, I'm sharing with you now, I'm catching and finding myself in this place of realizing, and again, with the help of some of my beautiful teachers, reminding me again and again that I am not separate from anything, from anyone. I'm not separate from you or any other human being. I am not disconnected from nature. I'm not disconnected from, the divine. I'm connected to everything. And so when I pray for myself, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but to realize to be in a place of full power and full empowerment is to pray for the whole of humanity, and to do that first, and pray for the earth, and to ask for things for the earth. Because the fact is, we are indirectly praying for ourselves. But when we ask, for the earth, and the earth starts to heal and feel our prayers and our intentions, we are affirming that we are a part of and already connected, as opposed to saying, please, could I win the $1 million? So then I don't, can pay my mortgage and I won't have to worry. I mean, I had that prayer for a long time, without, realizing that what benefits the earth benefits me. And I'm in that, by making that prayer, I'm just affirming that somehow I'm separate from and not already able to access and receive, everything that's available. So it's like we get it backwards, and I think, that's probably true for most of us on this planet, right? We've gotten it backwards. It's all part of, we perpetuate that wound of separation, that somehow we are separate and apart from everything else in the creation. So when I talk about, up leveling our creative capacity, our dreaming capacity, this is the opportunity, and this is what, as the goddess Sophia prophesied, right? She talked about that when we align with her, then wow, like when we align with her dreaming and her power to create this world and to recreate this world and to be continuously creating this world, then we've really up-leveled. So this was her prophecy. And just in case you didn't get to read or watch all the videos, but there is a prophecy. And it was back when that mistake happened, and the archons were created, right, from her fall inadvertently. They call it mistake, it's part of the fall. It's what happened inadvertently when she was dreaming unilaterally on her own without her male consort. Well, she said to the archon, she said, when the anthropos, remember that's the name that the Sophia myth called the human blueprint, the human genome, which is what we are all made in the image of. When the anthropos remembers the first origin, which was all mother, all father, or Sophia Christos at the galactic core, which is where we came from, our origin, cosmic balance is restored in the world, and the anthropos take their place in the stories unfolding. So when we remember where we came from and why we're here, then cosmic balance is restored in the world. When we remember that we have a divine mother, divine father who came together and created us and dreamed us into being, then cosmic balance is restored in the world. I mean, this is a big prophecy. This is a big, and we take our place, our right place in the ongoing, unfolding story, because it's not over yet. We're still creating, right? We're just waking up, remembering that that's what we're doing here. So we are, right, able to step in, able to be this divinity that our divine parents imagined us, imbued with the gifts of our galactic parents, made from Sophia's substance and elements, right, as an immortal child of light who embodies direct knowing or wisdom, right? Sophia means the wisdom of the divine. So, whoa, I hope you got shivers, because I got cold shivers. Every time I read and contemplate that again, I go, whoa, that's where we're headed. That's what's happening. That's, this is the great spiritual awakening at this time. So we're going to do an upper world journey, but first I'm just going to check in, because I've been reading from my notes here, just making sure you're all still here with me. You all here? Waving to the crowd. Are you all here and awake? Okay, good. So, are you ready to do a journey? I don't see some nodding heads. Do I see any nodding heads? Okay, Bev's thumbs up. Okay. How about you, Gloria? You ready to do a journey? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, all right. So we're going to do an upper world journey. Now, I can't remember. If I gave you a map of this. It seems to me I must have been Waking the Dreamer. We must have done an upper world journey. So I will give you the bones of it anyway, just in case. Because if I can't remember, maybe you can't remember either. So upper world journey, we're going to follow the world tree, the cosmic tree. So we'll go to a place, a big meadow field where there's this beautiful tree, and I'm going to invite you to merge with the tree and to go up, let your luminous body, send your luminous body up to the upper branches. And there, we're going to call on your divine parents to come, your celestial parents, to come and to take you up the levels. So up the levels of the upper world. Now, this upper world has multiple levels. It has a stone people world, a plant world, an animal world, and then it has our ancestor realm. I think I may have brought you up there to the ancestor realm to meet your ancestors, and where also the whales and the dolphins are, remember? But this time we're going to go further. Are you ready? So this is the shaman school stuff. So once you get to the ancestor realm, there will be your celestial parents are going to bring you to a place where there's a gold ladder that takes you up to. We call it the is it the Hanik Pacha? The Peruvians call it, Janet. Not sure, remembering. Anyway, Hanik Pacha, is it? She's pointing up. Maybe. Anyway, up there's a word for it. It's the upper world that has not yet manifested. So it's a realm of pure possibility and potential. And it represents our subconscious, or super consciousness, right? And you can think of it as, the far upper reaches of the world tree, or, in that 9 dimensions of consciousness, we're right up there with the gods and goddesses. And there's a keeper, and I call the keeper Pachacuti. Inca is in my tradition, but like the keeper of the lower realm presents as, is a many splendored being who presents to different people in different ways. But we're going to call on that keeper to come and And we're going to declare our intention and make sure it's okay for us to journey there. So who we're going to ask to connect with and to meet is to find a timeline that will bring you 25,000 years from now to the you who you are becoming 25,000 years from now. The you who has been restored to full remembering and activated potential, as Sophia and Thalete dreamt you. And so you're going to ask to meet this being, this future you, and have a conversation with this future you, and maybe even receive some gifts or a gift to bring back to you in present time. So that's the journey, and I'm going to guide us in that, and invite you first of all to right now get yourself nice and grounded. Feel your connection to the earth. Send your luminous roots down, 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 down. You need to be really good and grounded in your physical body for this. And turn off any distractions. If you have any distractions going on there, if you need to put on a headset or something, or if you want to shut off the video to minimize that distraction, then do that. And bring all your energy and your consciousness inward to your own breath, to your own heart, your heart beating. And I'm going to turn on the sound here. And so find yourself in a beautiful field, and in the distance, see a great tree, a huge tree with its branches extending far into the heavens, almost up to the clouds. And so as you walk towards the tree, look down, notice what's on your feet, notice the earth, if there's grass or stones, whatever you're walking on, just become aware. And approach this tree. Ask for permission to merge with the tree. And you will hear a yes. And so allow yourself to just step into the tree, to blend and merge with this great trunk. And feel from inside the tree the fluids, the saps that are flowing up and down, that are flowing up from the roots, and that are flowing down from the upper branches of the tree. Allow these fluids to cleanse you of whatever may not accompany you into the upper world, whatever will not serve. To do a good purification and cleansing of your luminous field here. So feel those saps, very nutritious, liquid, rich, feeding your luminous field with all its goodness, clearing any toxins or heaviness. And then allow your luminous field, allow yourself, your consciousness to move up this tree, up into the branches, going up, 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 up to the topmost branches. And from here, you look out and you see two bright lights coming from across the sky, from the outer space, coming towards you. And as they get closer and closer, you can make out the forms of these beautiful beings, a male and a female. And before you even see them, see the details, you can feel the unconditional love radiating from these beings. These are your cosmic parents, those who have known you since forever. And so you allow yourself to be enfolded and greeted and loved. And if you've met them before, do a catch-up. If you haven't, you don't remember meeting them before, allow yourself to be fully seen and recognized and remembered. And know they are here to guide you through the realms of the upper world, so that you don't get distracted here. So allow them to take you past the stone world, up past the world of where the coming of the light brought the trees and the plants. Keep going up past the animal realm, where all the animals that have ever existed on earth dwell in spirit form, up to the ancestor realm, where all your well-seated ancestors live, all your happy and peaceful ancestors dwell. And there may be some coming to greet you now, especially at this time. Coming and so happy to see you, wanting to know what news you bring of the 3D world down here in the crust. So pleased to see you. And so have a quick greeting and meeting and tell them that you're on your way to meet your future self. And see their pleasure and delight that you have remembered your ability to do this. Absolute delight. And then allow your cosmic parents to bring you to this ladder, this gold ladder that reaches up into this most high place, this place of possibility and potential, where all timelines exist. And your cosmic, when you separate here from your cosmic parents, they tell you they'll be here when you return, waiting for you. But you have to go the rest of the way on your own. But there will be protection and support up there. And so you climb up this golden ladder and you emerge into a world that is filled with light. Crystal light. It is magnificent, all sparkling, pure light. And you see here waiting for you the keeper of this world. I call him Pachacuti Inca. And so you greet the keeper and you declare your intention. I have come to meet my future self, who I am becoming 25,000 years from now, when I have remembered my true nature and divine origins and activated all of my potential, my gifts and capacities. And allow the keeper to guide you and show you a place where you see many timelines stretched before you. You may see them as pathways, or you can see them as luminous light, cords of luminous light. I want you to pick the one that gleams and glows the brightest. The brightest thread. It may be like a golden thread or silver or white thread. but it glows, and one glows more than the other. And it's a timeline, it's a potential. And so follow that timeline, follow that golden, silver, white, multicolored splendor, the one that has the most energy. And just follow it until you come to and you sense and feel or see some of your using your inner senses and imagination. You can feel yourself being pulled towards this future self. Allow yourself to be magnetized, pulled. And look at this future self who's coming towards you now, who's manifesting in front of you. Look into their eyes. Connect heart to heart. Allow yourself to be greeted, to be seen. This is a beautiful reunion. Take it all in. Have this telepathic communication, realizing no words are necessary, because everything, your very thought and every feeling is instantly communicated to this future self. Soak in all the light and the beauty of this future self. Allow it to settle into every thread, every luminous thread. Of your energy field. You can ask, what does your future self want you to know? What other messages are there here for you? Is there a gift? Something your future self wants to give you? And so making any last connections, receiving whatever else your future self wants to share with you. Knowing you can come back and connect with this future self at any time. You can ask before falling asleep to connect with your future self again. But getting ready now to make the return journey. And just with that thought, you find yourself back with the keeper, Pachacuti, who leads you back to the place where you entered his realm or her realm, to that golden ladder. So thanking the keeper. And then climbing back down that golden ladder to where your celestial parents are waiting in this ancestral realm. And taking your leave, saying goodbye to any ancestors here that you connected with on the way, telling them you'll be back, thanking them for all their love and their support and their blessings. Maybe there's something in particular you want support with. You can just share that with them telepathically and thank them. And then following your celestial parents as they guide you back down the layers, the levels, down the branches, we call it, of this great world tree, past the animal realm and the plant realm and the stone realm, back through the outer reaches of space, and back down to the top of the tree, where you take your leave of your cosmic parents again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then back into the tree, following the branches down, down, down to the trunk, feeling the sap of the tree, all those fluids, these rich fluids, moving through your luminous field, washing it clear of anything that may not accompany you back into this other realm. And as you're ready, stepping back from the tree, moving out, thanking the tree, looking down at your feet again, finding yourself back, feeling yourself back in this chair, wherever you're sitting, feeling your feet on the earth, moving your fingers and toes, feeling your heart beating, breathing back to ordinary time, this space and this time. Okay, so if you're ready now, I'm going to invite you to go into some breakout rooms here and share your experience. And we have about 15 minutes. So if you want to share about this experience and also if there's time, to share your thoughts, feelings, reactions to any of the content that I shared at the beginning about your multidimensional nature. Anything you'd like to share. So, hello everyone. Everyone's back. So, any quick comments, questions? Anybody want to share anything before we close up for the night? Just wave your hand if you'd like to share anything or have any questions.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Helen, go right ahead. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I
I could have spent more time with that breakout room, and I was going to suggest, not right for now, but for next week, that we actually have a little extra time
Mm-hmm.
to hang out,
Right.
especially because it'll be the last week.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
can tell you that now I can add it on to the end of the class, and
Just a
just,
suggestion.
yeah, and just keep it open for whoever wants to. I did that in a class previous. Yeah, I could certainly do that. It feels like we should be having like an end of class party or something, but I don't know how that would work. But thanks for that suggestion. I'll see what we can do. Any other comments, questions? Pretty ready to go? Oh, there's Carolyn and Doreen. You go first, Carolyn.
We talked about the consistency of the body of the future self, and it seemed very amorphous, possibly crystalline, radiating a lot of light and a lot of color.
Mm,
Yeah, and some aspects were familiar, and others were just quite beautiful,
right.
quite strange. That's it.
That's good. I know. Well, please share stuff on Facebook page because you might be surprised at the commonalities across. If you had that in your, I'd love to hear what other people experience. Doreen, did you want to say something?
Well, just like Alana has written, I noticed that Bev had her hand up, and she twice, I think. So maybe you'd like to call her. I'll just say briefly that in my breakout group, we agree we really need to replay this one. There was so much in there, especially the name of the Barbara. Could you give her name, her
Yeah.
last name?
Yeah, Barbara Hand, like Hand,
Yeah.
Clow, Clow. And I can, yeah, and it's The Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions.
Okay.
And there's a revised book, a later edition that you would want to get if you were going to get that book.
Okay. And now over to Bev.
Okay. All right, you go ahead, Bev. Just unmute yourself there.
Okay, thank you very much. I smiled when I was in the breakout room with Gloria because a couple of the words that she said when she was sharing her story were things that came to me. And they were rainbow and moon. So there was a lot of light in our journey into the future. So she had received a gift of a rainbow moonstone, but I was a rainbow, and that's what I felt. And my ancestors, because I think she received the rainbow moonstone, and for me it was the rainbow of that's where I was. Mine was more, hers was more visual, mine was more more by sensual, and the parents were moons to me.
Mm, beautiful.
So that was very interesting. Thank you for another beautiful journey.
Well, it was your journey. You made it all happen, girl. I just set the stage. That's all.
Thanks. The rattle was just amazing, amazing. I could feel it myself. My whole body just was pulsing to it.
Beautiful. That's good to
Thank
know.
you.
Good, good, good. You're so welcome. All right. So one more class next week, and in the meantime, in your course guide, there's a couple of exercises, deepening exercises for this week, and just a note. The first one is about creating a sand painting, we call it, and I describe how you would do that and in their course guide. But what that one is about, and I I don't know how, I may not have said why it's so relevant to what we did today, but it's because the natural world has its own time. And I talked about how, these upper dimensions, the stone world has it, the trees, the plants, they operate in a different time zone. And when we are in a different time frame than we humans do, particularly when we're in our minds. And so connecting with nature and opening up to experience how the time that nature moves in um, is one way that you can experience these multiple timelines. And so the Mayans, like, they knew this really well, and I don't have time, unfortunately, to share what they taught about time and the time and how time operates in all these different dimensions. But so that's what that sand painting is about, to have an experience of connecting and working with those timelines and with the natural world, to have an experience of that, plus all the other rich stuff that can come out of it. This is a major practice in shaman school for us, creating these sand paintings outside in nature. And the second one is to practice timeline jumping. And so again, this is another teaching that has to do with, how in our lives we are always making decisions, and and we can leave parts of ourselves actually behind at those decision points. If you think of something that you still look back to and you think about, what have I done that or whatever, if you have any kind of what we call regret around it, or you spend any time at all, you've left a part of yourself back there. So that's what that timeline jumping exercise is about, to explore that. Okay? All right. So one more class. The last class is going to be about offerings and the fundamentals of offering, and also about this whole idea of being in right relationship. And so we will also have a rite. You'll be receiving the harmony rites. So that's an energetic download, and I'll tell you more about that in next class. So in the meantime, please, if you have any questions, comments, love to see you sharing on Facebook, and send me a message if there's anything else that you'd like to say or share before we have our last class. Okay, everyone, have a beautiful week. Many blessings. So much love. Bye.